Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and when my longtime friend and colleague, 28 years we've known each other, is in the studio, of course, that's to his detriment. It is a great day, and that is Deacon Jim Vargas, the president and CEO of Father Joe's Village. Always great to see you, Jim.
It's good to be with you. It's always good to be with you, my friend.
And the family's doing well?
Everyone's doing well in your family?
Yes. Breaking news. Charles knows this. My daughter got engaged.
Congratulations.
Sammy got engaged last Saturday, and so wedding is set for next June. And and you know how that goes in your family,
now,
right?
This is the gentleman you told me you really liked.
He worked for you.
Years ago.
He worked for you, Kevin.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's great. Nice guy.
Right. Yeah, he worked for Father Joe's Villages. I'm not sure if Charles even knew that as well. Joined by my co-host, Ian Solomon. He's a senior at San Diego State in leadership studies, and also going to be joining on the mic as our senior associate producer, Brandon Joe. He has been doing great things with Cloudcast Media. Both of these guys are graduating next spring. UCSD for Brandon, and then San Diego State for Ian. Ian, you got
schools.
They're great schools. You got a question for Jim?
Yeah, we'll start it off if you could tell us a little bit about the mission of Father Joe's Villages.
Well, the mission of Father Joe's is simply, it sounds simple, right? To prevent or end homelessness, one life at a time. And that's the mission. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. It's very complicated, obviously, because we're dealing with human beings that are at different stages of their circumstances and have different needs. And so basically, we're blessed to have very comprehensive services so that we can, anything that a person needs to really out of the journey of homelessness, we're able to provide. So anywhere from health care, such as regular medical care, as in addition to psychiatric care for behavioral health issues and challenges. We have a detox center, Drew. Since we last met, we opened up a 44-bed detox center, which it adds to only 80 that existed in the entire county, only 2 of which were in the city of San Diego. So this is a great addition. We have people who are on substances, and they're dying on the streets, and so we're really happy to have these 44 beds. And then we have 248 recovery beds and sober living beds as well that we just added to the community. So from anywhere from a shelter bed to the healthcare to dental clinic, we help our children who are emotionally, academically, and socially delayed when they come to us, really to rise up from their circumstances and help their parents to really learn how to be good parents. And then we have, in addition to that, we build housing. In fact, we have 5 buildings, Drew, since we last met. We have 5 buildings in the pipeline. Just yesterday, we were awarded $90 million, by the way, for 2 of our buildings, $50 million for one building and $40 million for another building. And so we're on the way to being able to break ground on both of those buildings next year. It's exciting as can be. It's going to add 287 units of affordable housing into the community of San Diego. And heaven knows we need a lot more. So anyway, there's a lot that we do. We're blessed to do it. And it's a great organization. I've been with them for about 11 years.
It's been 11 years. Wow, that's crazy. Brandon, now you have a question for Deacon Jim.
I'm curious, on the ends of the detox center, why is it so difficult to get some of these in San Diego?
Detox beds?
Yeah, the detox beds.
Well, first of all, because you have to have you have to be specialized in it. You have to be state licensed. You have to have the right level behavioral health clinicians, as an example. And I have to tell you, this community in San Diego here does not have enough behavioral health clinicians. That's a focus of ours, needs to be a focus of the community as a whole, to be able to train these clinicians in the various schools like UCSD, like SDSU as an example, because the community desperately needs, not just for detox, but in general, just as far as behavioral health is concerned.
And just a follow-up, why is there so many resources needed for particularly these detox beds? And why do we need the behavioral people? Why do we need all of these as required, as you say?
It's a good question. Well, if you think about, we have almost 10,000 individuals who are homeless. That's a point in time count, right?
That's right.
Last January, and 9,905 to be exact. And of those, about 58% are unsheltered and on the streets, right? So that's almost 60%. And we estimate that about a third to 40% have mental health challenges, and a similar percentage have substance use challenges, and some have both. So that's thousands of people, if you can imagine. So we need a lot more support in that regard. And ours is a Cal-AIM population. Ours is a Medi-Cal population. And those beds for our population just haven't existed.
Gotcha. And so if we need more of these people, how can we get them in San Diego outside of just pulling from our universities here, which I don't know how that architecture is in our university system. If we're able to produce a lot, what's limiting this amount of production, or if there's people and students simply not going into those fields in the first place, like what's going on that side?
Well, it's on all fronts. I think that we need to entice people to fall in love with this type of work, right? And not only fall in love with this type of work, but also in different situations, I'll call it. So that, for instance, you may want behavioral health, but you may not want to work with the homeless population. I mean, our homeless population, I love working with those who we serve. It can be a difficult population, as you can imagine, because of their circumstances. And so you have to be able to like that. But to your point, we need more funding for these types of programs, and we need more attention on the part of the schools to be able to offer these courses and these curriculums.
I feel like at the same time, this is the population that can benefit most from these types of services. And so it kind of awes me in the way of how many of the students that go through the system argue that they're trying to go in and have the most impact, help people. And if this is the population that they could be doing it, and then why not?
Well, that's why we need advocates like you at UCSD, Brandon, and Ian at SDSU. Seriously, chat about it. We're talking to Deacon Jim Vargas. He's the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the amazing folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things in the community, a focus on homelessness, focus on Alzheimer's, food insecurity, and everything in between. Joined by my co-host Ian Solomon, a senior at SDSU in leadership studies, and Brandon and Joe at UCSD. He'll also be graduating with background in math and computer science. He's our senior associate, director. I know. Listen, Jim, you and I talk about this all the time. I always feel, that I need to bring this up to the audience because it makes me a crazy person when I hear people say that those 9,905 people, many of them who are unhoused on the street, want to be. It is about as far from the truth as possible.
That is true. It is as far from the truth. And
where do they get these ideas?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of stigmatization out there of the people who are on the streets. And so, these are individuals who have difficult circumstances. We're not here to judge them. They come from different walks of life. I can tell you that we have, we have engineers, and we have lawyers, and we have doctors even who have fallen into difficult situations for various reasons.
That's right.
Right. And who would have thought that would have happened? They would have never thought. And they wind up on the streets, and they wind up coming across our doorsteps. And so it's not a matter of judging them. It's a matter of recognizing their situations, meeting them where they are. All right, and giving them the assistance that they need. It isn't a cookie cutter approach, but giving them the assistance that they need in order to lift themselves out of their situation.
Absolutely, Ian.
So I want to hear your thoughts on a lot of amongst my generation. There's this misconception that the problem is financial for the people that are on the street, but it seems like more often than not, it's more of a mental problem or a substance abuse problem. Can you talk a little bit about that misconception?
Yeah, that's great. The number one reason why we have the homeless situation that we have in San Diego is an economic one. People are falling onto the streets because it's expensive to live here, right? And that's a stark reality. I mean, think about the fact that an average one-bedroom apartment goes for about $2,500. the fact that the rental vacancy rate at this point is about 4 to 4.5%. That means no sooner does an apartment come out in the market at about $2,500 on an average basis for a one-bedroom apartment, it gets scooped up. And not by our population, because our population is a population that doesn't have those means. And so the number one reason people fall into homelessness in San Diego is an economic one. Now, to your point, some have mental health challenges, as I mentioned, some have substance use challenges. Some of them pre-exist the homelessness. Some develop as a result of the homelessness. People self-medicate, as an example. So it all comes together to make for a difficult situation, which is why everyone's situation is different. And you have to really apply the right resources in order to be effective in their lives. I mean, it had been weighing on my heart for at least a couple of years that I was seeing people cycle in and out of shelter beds. And we weren't, as a community, getting to their fundamental problem, that they had substance use challenges. And that's why we decided that we would convert one of our programs to these 44 beds, right, where it would be a 14-day intensive inpatient detox regimen, basically. And then have the 248 beds and recovery and sober living beds that would be the progression for them so that they can continue the recovery, have case management, employment support, other health support, and then into housing, right? So you have to really, at any point, and Drew, you know my background as a business one, so you have to assess the situation in the market and decide, okay, so what do we need now? Because it's different now than it was when I arrived 11 years ago or 20 years ago, right? So anyway, we go at it each and every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon?
Can you color in one of the stories of the individuals coming through the program? Because I feel like we can always say like, oh yeah, they used to be lawyers, but I'm curious to hear more about, let's say one of the individuals that have come through your programs and kind of the experiences that they've been through, as long as that's all right.
Absolutely. In fact, she doesn't mind me sharing her name, and it's Amber. And I am so proud of Amber. And she's someone who had basically had a husband who she loved very dearly, 2 beautiful little girls. Her husband fell sick. He came down with cancer. He succumbed to cancer. That really threw her in for a spiral. She started taking drugs. Unfortunately, her aunt introduced her to drugs. And things just went south from there. She wound up falling onto the streets as a result of it. She lost her children to CPS. Right. And it just one thing after another. And then at one point in time, she woke up next to her aunt because they had both overdosed. Someone had administered Narcan, naloxone. She came back, Amber did. Her aunt did not. So she was dead right next to her. That kind of knocked some sense into her. She found her way to Father Joe's Villages, and she really availed herself of all the programs that we were able to offer, both on the behavioral health side. On the employment side, she became a property manager, right? In time, she regained custody of her 2 children. We were able to help her into housing, and now she's prospering. And she's on fire. She goes around helping other individuals, right, in their situations and helping to lift them up. And it's one thing for me to talk passionately about it, but it's another thing to hear it from someone like Amber.
A poster child on that. Jim, before we go to break, talk a little bit about how important these public programs are. And when you see a cut and snap or a cut and whatever the case may be, that has immediate impact.
Oh, it really does. And we see it in our food pantry. Well, so far we've served about 800 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in 2 dining rooms, right, every single day, 800,000 meals. And on the food pantry, right, we're seeing the number of individuals who come on a Friday for about 3 or 4 hours. They line up outside our warehouse in the cars. And these are not individuals who are homeless, by the way. These are individuals who are just making ends meet. And so we give them a box of produce, different items that they can use, non-perishables and fruit and vegetables and so forth, so that they can have for the next week, they can have enough to feed their families so that they don't have to decide between putting gasoline in their car to get to work or feeding their families. Because if they don't put gasoline in the car and they don't get to work, they're going to lose their jobs, and the situation is going to get even graver for them.
Yeah.
So this allows them to, and that line has been growing by leaps and bounds. And that's to your point, because they've lost certain subsidies in these last number of months, and so it's brought them to this situation. But we're helping them to hang on.
Right.
A lot of individuals are not able to hang on and they fall onto the streets.
Yeah, there's no question. When we come back from break, we want to talk a bit about some of the federal changes to, the homeless funding and stuff. I want to go back to the Detox as well. And Jim, as you know, you've been a frequent guest on the show in your 11 years as CEO at Father Joe's Villages. What our listeners can do to support your efforts when we return with Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. I'm Drew Schlosberg at Cloudcast Media. It's another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. In the studio with us is my longtime friend and colleague, the inimitable Deacon Jim Vargas. He is the CEO, President of Father Joe's Villages, joined by my co-host Ian Solomon, San Diego State University Senior in Leadership Studies, and Brandon Joe. He's a Senior Associate Producer for Cloudcast Media and will be graduating from UCSD in the spring. Ian?
Yes, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about federal changes to homeless funding.
Maybe you can tell me, Ian. I joke, obviously, but it's just that it is so up in the air. In fact, we finally, after months delay, we were supposed to have received notification in midsummer. Typically, that's what happens with a notice of funding availability for the subsequent year from HUD. And that was delayed up until November. And then just a few days ago, it was pulled. So basically, and we're waiting for the resubmission in a sense. But once it's or the release, if we go by the one that just was released, there are a number of problematic areas and there are a number of opportunities. And I always love to look for the opportunities. So you know what? I'm going to start with the opportunities first. So why don't we do that?
Yeah.
So there's opportunity for funding for transitional housing. There's opportunity for funding for detox, for substance use type beds. Therefore, for recovery and sober living beds. Right? There's funding for employment services and the like. So there's a lot of funding. I focus on these because they haven't been available in the past through HUD. And in fact, the HUD has stayed away from that type of funding, especially transitional housing. That's exciting to us, because we're the type of an organization actually that we have the full array of services. So we have all those, right? Everything that I just mentioned, we have, and it's all been philanthropically funded. And heaven knows I love our community. You know that, Drew, because that's the only way we do our work.
That's right.
Through the generosity of the donors. And I'm hoping that we can leverage some of that funding, assuming that's going to still be available when they re-release the NOFO in a few weeks.
Right.
Now, what is problematic and a challenge, and it can be very frightening, is the cuts to permanent supportive housing. All right. So we have individuals who have what are called vouchers or PSH vouchers. And these are individuals who contribute 30% of their income to their housing, basically to the rent, but the rest is subsidized. Some of individuals have had those PSH vouchers for years and years and years. And now there's the thought that those will be pulled. Inevitably, what will happen if that was the case, that's the case, is that these individuals will not be able to make up the additional rent and they'll fall onto the streets. So the number of people on the streets potentially could swell. So that's of concern to us, and a very big concern. So we've been advocating at different levels to try to keep that from happening. I'm hoping that HUD pulling back on the no for early this week and re-releasing it, I'm hoping for good things. I'm the optimist. I pray for good things all the time. And so I hope that that's the case, because that can be quite devastating. Preventing people from falling onto the streets has been a major focus of ours at Father Joe's Villages for at least the last 2 years, because more and more people have been falling onto the streets. We've said this before, Drew, than being helped off the streets at any given time. We're hemorrhaging. And so what we need to do is prevent people from falling onto the streets. We find that a shallow subsidy of about $500 keeps an individual in their home and off the streets. Once an individual falls onto the streets, it's a lot more costly than $500 a month. Right?
Yeah.
So as a community, we really need to focus on this.
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about before, you mentioned the Detox, has opened, which is huge for 75 different reasons. But we always talk about nutrition and the food insecurity. And if they're not getting nutritional meals, it's going to lead to everything, the health issues and all this. You can't keep track of yourself, and then maybe you go to something else, and now you're... but you focus on nutritional, the value of the food that you guys are providing, correct?
All the time we must. I mean, you think about children.
Yeah.
How are they going to learn in school? How are they going to sleep well? Right? If they go to bed and their stomachs are empty, right? If they don't get the right nutrients, how are they going to learn in school? So for kids, but not just for kids, for anyone, to keep them healthy and out of hospitals, as an example. So nutrition is extremely important, and we focus on that tremendously. So those meals that I mentioned are well-balanced meals. They're nutritious. Our chefs, we have chefs who could be working elsewhere, making a lot more money, but they love being at Father Joe's Villages because they see the difference that they're making, and they change up the menus as an example, and they make it very interesting and very tasty.
So talk about the relationship. You are talking about this of the businesses that surround homelessness. A lot of it downtown, of course, and not just in downtown; it's all over. Are they starting to be a lot more amenable to what you folks are doing, more empathetic, more sympathetic, or that's pretty much the same? Well, it depends on the organization, I guess.
Right. Well, we have good relationships with many people, and businesses appreciate what we do, because I think people recognize, for the most part, that if not for what we provide on a daily basis, the situation will be a lot worse. I mean, think about it. In any given night, if you think about the shelter beds that we have and the affordable housing that we have about 3,000 people who we help on a nightly basis.
That's wild.
So those are individuals who will be on the streets, right? So it's a big deal, and I think that's recognized. That said, when Father Joe started, you remember Father Joe, right? When Father Joe Carroll started Father Joe's Villages back in the 80s, and I say he started it, the organization predated him by about 30 years, because this is our 75th year. We started in 1950. But when he came onto the scene in 1982, and Charles remembers this,
Charles was good friends with him.
Yeah, absolutely. He built this comprehensive services, right? Not this cookie cutter approach, but this really comprehensive organization that was able to meet people where they are and also be able to provide what they needed. And so people at that point in time, the government officials, the city officials and so forth, were more than willing to send the homeless down to East Village because there was nothing there. Literally, there was nothing there, warehouses and so forth. Now, thank God that the city is really prospering, and there's a lot of gentrification, and there's been a lot of development, and that development has reached our doors down at Father Joe's Villages. So what surrounds us now is very different than when Father Joe started in 1982. So as a result of that, sometimes individuals, get annoyed with the fact that there is a homeless population down at the East Village, I'll call it. But what we try to do is try to help the community as a whole become healthier, basically, is what it comes down to. I mean, I'm not just there for those who we serve at Father Joe's Villages. Really, I'm there for the community as a whole, so that we can all prosper and the city can thrive as a whole.
There's no question about that. So, and I'll bring this question in our few minutes we have left here, both to Brandon and Ian, and you can jump in on it as well. We'll start with Brandon on this. Do you see any of your colleagues, your UCSD students, do they talk about the homeless issue? Do they get involved with volunteering? It's not on their, map because they just want to get through the semester and all that. I don't know how they could ignore it. It's around here in this county.
I feel like at the moment, I don't hear about it much from my peers. I think for the most part, a lot of our peers are trying to focus on themselves first before focusing on others to make sure that they're in the best position to help other people. I think that's a general vibe and conversation. It's like, I need to help myself first.
And how about you, Ian?
Definitely along the same lines. I mean, SDSU, you will see homeless people on the streets there, and everyone kind of knows that it's a problem, but in terms of what are they doing to help with it, it's not really something that at least the students talk about. I'm not sure if that is a conversation that's being had.
Well, I have to tell you for both of you, Brandon and me, I will tell you that in your respective schools, there are students who are homeless, and you don't even see them. All right, and we know that for a fact. And these are individuals, and God bless them. I mean, I really applaud them that they know that education is the way out of poverty and the way out of homelessness, and they go to class and they do their work and they excel. But when they leave your campuses as an example, they go off, and a lot of them are sleeping in cars or in bushes. All right, and that's a sad reality. And so a lot of times that's not recognized, but there are hundreds of those in your respective school.
Well, and the amount of students that are food insecure, whether they're on the streets or not, even the ones that is huge. That's a huge issue as well in this area. Do you have a push at all to get more students involved in working with you folks? I mean, the university's 50, 60,000 at UCSD, whatever the number is these days, 35,000, who knows what it is at State, not counting Cal State San Marcos, Point Loma, and all the community colleges.
We do. In fact, we have students from UCSD, from SDSU, from USD as an example, and from other colleges who come. And they come either individual or in groups. They have groups that they form within the respective campuses, and they come and they serve at Father Joe's Villages. I love having them. And of course, we have high schoolers who also come in as well. We even have some grammar schools who come in, or they run donations at this time for the kids and the like. So there's so many ways that you can get involved, by the way, in your respective schools. You might be able to spearhead something. I mean, just getting them to have donation drives throughout the year. Right. And I don't just mean toys. I mean, those are, of course, kids love toys, right? But they're, you have donation drives for diapers. We need thousands of diapers because of the kids, the small little ones who are at our place at Father Joe's Villages.
Or books.
Or socks. Or, during the summer. During the winter, we need sweats and so forth, right, to keep people warm. And there's so many things that we need. So even just running drives within your respective schools are important. I will tell you that Erwin Jacobs, in memory of his wife Joan, just this month, pledged $1 million. So any donations this month or in the month of December.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's been very generous to us. He and his wife, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
And really excited about this, and people are stepping up and donating. And no doubt we will make that $1 million because the community is very gracious and they recognize the work that we do, the life-saving work we do. So I encourage your listeners to really come in and contribute, especially this month to this goal and beyond. Because without the community, we wouldn't be able to do the work we do.
Well, and Jimmy and I have talked about this all the time, as we do when we have our friends in from the San Diego Food Bank or Feeding San Diego. Yes, there's a big push around from Thanksgiving until the first of the year, obviously on donations, but homelessness doesn't know a date. March 15, June 22nd, August 3rd, doesn't make a difference. Same thing with people who are food insecure in this. What's the website so people can get engaged with you?
Neighbor.org. Neighbor.org, or you could call 619-HOMELESS.
It is always great to see you, Jim. The content you provide is fantastic. Congratulations on the new beds that are going to be available, the new buildings that you folks are doing. I know you only think about this 24/7, 365, 366 when there's a leap year on it. And we're honored to have you as a frequent guest on our Spotlight in the Community show and work with us at Cloudcast Media. So we're with you shoulder to shoulder, and we're going to look forward to your next appearance on the Spotlight show.
It's always good to be with you, my friend. I want to wish you and your listeners, a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, absolutely. And to everybody else as well. Been chatting with Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. As always, Ian Solomon, another fine job as a co-host. And Brandon, it's always good when you jump in as well. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.